Hello and welcome to Coffee with Jenny B. It's conversations over coffee. It's about community, connections, what brings me joy, and everything in between. I'm the host, Jenny Sakovac. With the holidays just around the corner, we tend to indulge a little bit. Good food, good wine, maybe some extra Christmas shopping, maybe some shopping for ourselves. And indulging is a good feeling. You enjoy what you're doing in the moment. But sometimes you can overdo it, and that will result in a hangover. Now, for me personally, if I indulge in too much red wine, I love my red wine, I don't feel good the next day. I feel just tired, I've got a headache, no energy. Basically, my day is shot because I overindulged. Now, the next day, I'm feeling better and regretting that I overindulged and saying I'm never going to do that again until the next time. Now, this is a small hangover, but what happens if your life becomes a bigger hangover? What if you get off track and don't know how to get back on track? So what do? My guest today is someone who will talk about her journey of getting off track and how she was able to find her way back again. Her name is Shana Robinson. She is an image consultant, the owner of Epic, and a very good friend of mine. Please help me welcome Shana Robinson. Hey, Shana.
Hey, Jenny, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for being here.
I'm so excited for, to just be able to sit down and have this conversation with you.
Yes, I love that. So let's talk about your experience of getting off track.
Yeah, so I had one of those big moments. I was having such a great year at the top of 2024, and I made this big life decision. I decided that I was going to venture in my romantic life in a different direction. And as a result of that, I experienced, pretty much a 9-month, almost 6 month, between 6 to 9 months of this life hangover that just demolished everything.
Oh, wow.
Everything broke down in my business, in my life, with friends, and I've had to put the pieces back together, and I'm working on a great comeback.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, we all love a good comeback.
Yeah.
Because it's looking back, I guess, rear view mirror in a sense, to think about, okay, where did things go wrong? What could I have done to not prevent it, or maybe prevent it, but maybe fix it in a way that it doesn't become, so overwhelming and basically blow up in your face, right?
Yeah. I think looking back now, there's a lot that I would have done differently. Hindsight is 20/20, right? That's what they say. But I think the biggest thing that I would have done was slow down, right? I made an impulsive decision that didn't feel impulsive in the moment, but I wasn't allowing myself the opportunity to see what was actually transpiring in front of me. I was so caught up in, this feels good right now, and I think it's right. And I wasn't seeing all of the red flags. I wasn't seeing all of the signs that were showing me that this wasn't the best decision for myself. Yeah.
It's interesting you mentioned red flags, because we don't see the red flags until it's almost too late. Right? And then we look back and it's like, oh yeah, And I'm sure you've had people talk to you and say, hey, Shana, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Are you sure you should be doing this? Yeah. And you're like, yep, everything's good.
Yeah. When you're going through it and you're feeling reassured by other people with your decision, right? In my case, it was with that partner. But even if it's a business venture and you're feeling like, yeah, this is the right direction for me, and you get the co-signing, right? That we often love to have to justify that this is the right move. But listen, my friends and family tried very hard to be like, stop what you're doing. But as I said, it was filling something for me that I thought I really wanted and needed. And I would almost say that blinded me from really being able to see that this isn't fully it, or this could be temporary for you. Yeah.
I want to think about when you have those moments where you feel like there's this void, like something's missing in my life. And typically when something is missing, it's a relationship. It's either, a love relationship or family or something that is fulfilling. But I wonder sometimes if it's the business sense of it or your company, because I know that when you created the brand boutique, which is how you and I initially met, and then you veered off of that a little bit and went into Epic. So could that have been a little bit of I'm not quite sure what direction I want to go in?
No, I actually think that one of the biggest things that I would say is, yes, it was relationship based, but I wasn't valuing where I was.
Okay.
Right? So I wasn't seeing my current relationship for all of the things that were great about it, right? Sometimes when things aren't working out the way that we want them to, we're not taking accountability for what we need to change and what we need to do differently. And I actually have a great, support in that partner. But I wasn't seeing it because we weren't progressing in the way at that time that I wanted to.
Okay.
So with the business side, going from the branding boutique over to Epic was more about zeroing in on the sales side of things and niching in a little bit, right? I was still doing branding and all of that. But for me, the void was more so, okay, I don't feel like I'm progressing in this one area. So I made a decision and said, I'm going to progress in my own way. And that all came crumbling down.
But I can relate as well because, you feel like there's something missing and we tend to look outside of ourselves because I want somebody to fix it.
Yes.
Whether it's I need money, I need a job, I need a relationship, I need a child, I need something. I don't even know what I want. It's like standing in front of the menu and it's like, I have no idea what I want. And this is like something simple, but when it comes to your life and we forget that we need to look inside of ourselves.
Yeah.
What does Jenny need? What does Shana need?
Yes.
We don't need all of this, but what do we need for ourselves
to feel whole? And that accountability, right? So I preach going after what you want, and I preach, like leaning in and taking those risks. But sometimes we also have to assess where we're at, right? So even as my business has evolved over the years, I had to assess where I was at. And this business and life hangover gave me a lot of time. Once I got off the couch, once I came out of my depression and, stopped feeling as anxious as I was, because everybody who knows me as this big personality, this very confident person. And this took me out. It took me completely out, where I was in hiding for months because I couldn't deal with, there's judgment, that there's scrutiny that comes. Things are falling apart all around you. The bills aren't getting paid. And I just want to be really vulnerable and open about that, because a lot of times we present this image, right? And as an image consultant, that's part of my job, right? But there's also this human being who's having this real experience. And it was really interesting for me to step outside of the brand, who is a derivative of me, and be like, wow, when I have nothing, who am I in this moment, and how are others perceiving me?
And you mentioned judgment, and that's a huge one. And there's also that feeling of shame.
Yes.
Even though we've done nothing wrong, it's still that feeling that, I'm responsible for my life blowing up in my face. I'm responsible for, you say, not having bills paid and not having work. And you hide from life. So how did you pull yourself out of that? What tips or tools or techniques or what can you share that really helped you?
So on a personal level, the things that I did was I allowed myself to be.
Okay.
I didn't give myself pressure to, you have to keep a presence on social media, or you have to do this, or you have to act like everything was okay. Everything was not okay.
Yeah.
And I couldn't push past that even if I wanted to. So I gave myself the grace and the space to navigate the trauma the way that I needed to. The other thing was that whoever wanted to walk away from me during that time, I let them.
Okay.
And whoever was really in my corner and has loved me through my highest and my lowest moments, I leaned into those relationships of support. But I also had to take a really good look at how did I play a role in not just this situation, but how my life has come to be what it is now. We want to celebrate the positives. We want to look at ourselves in the best possible light. But there were a couple areas, relationships being one of them, that I was like, oh, you need some work over here, girlfriend, right? And then, of course, when you're not generating income, you get to really see when I'm living a very bare life. And I can't be flashy, and I can't go out and wine and dine, and I can't do all the things, and everything is falling apart. Who are the people that are truly there for you, that are making sure that you're getting through day by day?
And you know, you bring a good point, because you're right. It's the people that are in the corner that are there to support you. It doesn't matter that this is the Shana that everybody sees as, you know, bigger than life, and you are, absolutely. But it's seeing the Shana maybe feeling the vulnerable little girl inside that needs that care and attention and love. And I'm so happy that you were able to find that, you know, with your family, of course, in Cairo, your son. How did he play a big part in your recovery?
I think that at the end of the day, and just again being really honest and transparent, when everything was happening, there were days I was barely feeding Cairo because I didn't have it. Right? And again, I'm not here to paint this picture that everything is good, because the reality is there's a lot of people, there's somebody sitting on the couch right now watching this who's like, oh my goodness, this is exactly what I'm experiencing, and there is hope, right? So there were days in the beginning where it was really, really bad, and I didn't have much to give him. I would sit with him, I would cry, I would be like, oh my God, I need to feed you. He would bathe and go to bed, and that was it. Bare minimum, right? But then you get inspired. You start getting inspired by, I have to change something, and I have to get back out there. You know, part of Epic is helping female business owners go from unseen to unforgettable by showing them how to be their own best sales asset, right? And part of that remedy to this hangover was literally, I have to start being seen again. And one of the easiest ways was to share what Cairo and I was doing. So while I'm very inspired by my son, you know, he just turned 3 and I can't believe that happened. But you know what, he deserves the best out of me. And I had to work to get back to a place where I can show up for him.
And you know, you mentioned about, you know, getting through all of that. I think we've all been there at one point or another in our lives, myself included, where you're just barely surviving. You're doing enough to get through the day, but you don't have enough energy for anything more than that. And I remember, you know, when I was going through a divorce with my husband, and I had 2 children under the age of 5, I was barely surviving, but I was doing what I can to make sure that they were alive and kept alive. But it wasn't even so much about me until finally one day you realize it's like, you know what? I need to be a better person. I need to be a better mother. I need to be a better whatever it is I need. And so you pull yourself out of that deep depression, that funk that you're in. It's not easy.
No, it's not. It's not. And I really have to give credit to Cairo's dad, who, you know, we ended up rekindling our romance. But I have to give credit to him because he came and he picked me up off the floor and he was like, I'm going to walk you through this grief. And he didn't have to do that, right? Our relationship had ended, and to come back together. And that's where I was saying, you know, sometimes we have something and I was ungrateful. I wasn't valuing it. I wasn't seeing it for what it was. And I also wasn't taking that time to look at myself and how that was preventing us from progressing in our own relationship. So, you know, to see this strength that this man had to come and say, I will love you through all of this, even though I'm hurt. I want to put our family back together. And, you know, he's in the Air Force, in the military, and right now is in Hawaii. So I got the opportunity to leave our setting, right, and go and spend that time in Hawaii. And a lot of people have this misconception that I was at the beach every single day. I promise you, I stayed in my room and I cried a lot and I struggled a lot and I was a zombie. And it wasn't until I was like, okay, something's got to give. We got these bills to pay, you know, Kelvin's carrying 2 different households. Like, I need to feel like me again.
Yeah.
And that's really where the remedy was birthed from.
Okay, I love that. So tell us a little bit more about what the remedy actually is.
Yeah, so the remedy was, how am I going to start showing up online? So I have a huge background in branding, of course. That's what my agency was for years. I love high ticket sales. And when I work with my clients, one thing that I found that they struggled the most with was how to be visible. And that visibility, I couldn't even get them to the sales, right? Or I couldn't even get them to show up with their brand because they were unsure or uncomfortable about being seen. So we weren't working to create awareness about their brands. And so I said, well, what am I going to do? And I have a really great friend, Justine from Gold Chasers. If you guys know her, shameless plug for Justine.
Yeah, she's lovely.
we love her. And, you know, she was one of those women who was really instrumental during this time, just would continue to encourage me. You know, I went and sat with her numerous times and she was like, here's the game plan. And so I was like, okay. And when I went back to Hawaii, I was like, I'm just going to start showing up. And then I started realizing that there was a lot of other women who had either had their own traumatic events where they were very afraid to come online because of this perceived judgment and real judgment that happens. Or there was a lot of women who were struggling to just communicate their value online. And marketing felt hard for them. And so I said, look, the easiest way that I know to bring brand awareness, generate some leads, bring in some potential sales, and to start nurturing your audience, which is your sales funnel, is to do a giveaway. And so I started showing up online, just letting people into my world and what was happening. And I started showing up and talking about this hangover that I was having, talking about, you know, Cairo, talking about how to work with my clients and putting myself back into my sweet spot. Yeah, so we put together essentially a quick offer that helps you create some brand awareness, helps you to generate some new leads through your giveaway, create a great concept that's going to be really, really fun and eye-catching, and creating an offer that's not super high ticket, but something that can help you start getting a cash injection going in your business if you've been offline for some time.
Okay, you know what, and that sounds really wonderful because I like the idea that it's not about the marketing and about putting yourself out there, but it's really honing in. And you mentioned sweet spot.
Yeah.
Not all of us understand exactly what is our sweet spot. You know, I'm in this business, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm not getting the sales, I'm not getting the leads, I'm not feeling that I'm making a difference or I'm contributing. And so we look outside of ourselves. And again, back to that overindulgent and that hangover, it's like we're inside, right? But we don't see our insides.
No.
And so I like the fact that you are helping us. And you mentioned the word values. So you're helping us understand what are our values, what is our core, what do we want for ourselves? Because if we don't know what we want for ourselves, how are we going to get what we deserve to have? And so working with us to help us understand who are we, and it's getting back to the why. Why do you want this? And then going into that.
Exactly. One of the biggest things as an image consultant is really being able to show your clients and be that mirror for them. Here's what makes you unique. Here's why somebody would buy from you. Here's where you actually shine and what we should promote. And so the remedy, the offer, right, actually helps you do this in a very intense way. And, you know, I've had a couple clients already start going through this and they're like, I've never seen myself through this lens. I didn't know that this was my moneymaker, essentially. And you're right, you know, we have these hangovers and we overindulge even in the business world where there's so much noise, there's so many lead generation tools, there's so many, do a masterclass, do this, do what, how do you know what's right for you? The biggest thing is what feels good for you. What can you get behind? Whatever you can do and show up in is what you should be doing to promote yourself. And so I really give my clients the autonomy to show up fully in their expertise by highlighting what that is first, and then packaging it and saying, let's take it to the marketplace. And worst case scenario, we drive some new leads. Best case scenario, we make a couple dollars. Right?
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
But for me, it gets back to what brings me joy.
Yes.
You know, joy is one of my core values. And if it brings me joy, if I feel passionate about what I'm doing, then it feels natural. It feels like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
Versus I'm not quite sure what I want to do. I think I know what I want, but unless you're 100% committed to it, it's never going to make you feel fulfilled. And unfortunately, you then end up giving up on it because you know what? I'm a failure.
Yeah.
And really, it's not so much that you're a failure, it's that you didn't discover what your sweet spot is, what your passion is, and bottom line, what brings you joy.
And that alignment, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I see so many business owners that are trying to do it all. We're trying to be the great moms. We're trying to be, you know, the best friends. We're trying to, you know, have the partners and do all the play dates and, you know, have time for ourselves as well. But when you really look back at it, you have to look at your business, right? Which is a vehicle for you. It's a vehicle to generate income. Yeah. Your business is not everything that you are, right? And you have to say, is this designed in a way, right, that works for me? So my old branding for Epic was based off nightlife. If you know me, I'm the party starter. I still am. I was just very hungover for a long time, but I'm back on the dance floor. And this really gave me the opportunity to say, is that all that I am, right? And so being in Hawaii, I have a Caribbean background. I was like, I want to expand my brand into more of island life. And island life is slower paced. It's more deliberate. It's more grateful. It's more peaceful, right? Yes. And bringing my clients into the space where we can slow down in our business so that we can rev up and have sustainability was really, really important to me. So yes, we have all of these things, but you have to have a transformation. And that's why I focus so much on expertise, right? We can't just like what we're doing.
Right.
What transformation, what results can you get? And a lot of times to show my clients that they're brilliant, I have to go back to the things that we can brag about, that we're feeling for some reason that we can't highlight or we can't share. And so that's a really big focus for the Remedy is I'm going to show you that you're powerful, and then we're going to show the world.
Oh, I love that. And you know, when we slow down, and not just in life, but anytime you take a pause, you take a chance to catch a breath.
Yes.
And really do some self-reflection, that's when you discover parts of yourself. And unfortunately, sometimes we can't see that ourselves. So having someone like you guiding us through it and having us transform ourselves and really, you know, holding up a mirror to us, and it's like, yes, I am that woman. I am powerful. I am grateful, beautiful, smart, powerful, all of that. Yes.
Yeah, and you know, I really thank this season of my hangover for so many things, because now I can understand and relate to people who are like, I'm afraid to show up online. I'm afraid to promote my business. I'm afraid to brag about myself. When we live in a day and age where you have to stand out in the marketplace, whatever that is. And, you know, being able to see that it's one thing for me to see it in you, but when you can really see it for yourself is when this beautiful thing transpires. And now you're almost unstoppable. You're like, no, I know I'm good at this. And something as women that we do too often, and I'm super guilty, is that we try and take on everything and be great at it. The Remedy is so focused on what's that one thing that you are so good at that you drive results every single time, and what's the promise behind that you can get results for your client. That's what we show up in to rebuild our confidence, rebuild our stats, and to start making a name for ourselves.
But I want to also mention that when there's that one thing that we're good at, but sometimes as women, we tend to say, oh, well, that's nothing.
Downplay it.
Downplay it. It's like, oh, yeah, oh, that's nothing. Oh, that's easy, whatever.
Yeah.
But the fact that each and every one of us has that one thing, or maybe more than one thing, but initially that one thing that we do, and everybody's like, how do you do it? And because I can't do that, how do you do it? And we think, oh, well, it's, you know, nothing.
Yeah.
But it's actually something.
Well, to somebody else, it's a challenge, right? You know, part of part of expanding in my Caribbean brand now is, if you guys know me, you know I've not been a big cook in my lifetime, but it's something that I'm like, okay, I see the importance of it. Let's lean into it. And so, you know, I had a friend in Hawaii who's Guyanese, and she was like, here's how you do it, Shana. And this should be basics, right? Like, I'm grown, I should know how to do this. But she's like, okay, find the recipe, make your shopping list, let's go grocery shopping, come back and follow the recipe. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, this is why every time I go to the grocery store, I don't know what to get because I have no game plan, right? So for her, she's grown up that way. She was brought up to cook and everything like that. She might take that for granted. Whereas for me, I didn't grow up in the kitchen, right? I grew up working and going and buying like A&W or whatever, right? And so just different experiences lead us to different things. So, you know, yes, what one person might take for granted is a gold mine for somebody else.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. Now, I want to talk about community because I know that you spent some time in Hawaii.
Yes.
But you've created a community already here in Winnipeg of women that you've worked with either through Epic and now through your remedy that you're offering. So tell us about how women in Winnipeg can connect with you and work with you on this.
Yeah, so one of the very exciting things is that we're actually going to do a giveaway. So that's a nice way to maybe come in, which the details should be as part of this episode. But one lucky winner is going to get the opportunity to do the remedy, which is valued at $2,500 US, completely free. So they're going to be able to have that opportunity to come and sit with me for their intensive and build out a small sales funnel to drive some traffic. If you just want to say, hey, what's up? Or like grab a drink or whatever, you know I just came back from my hangover, but I still drink. I still indulge. You know, shoot me a message in the DMs. I love having conversations, and I'm just really here for women who want to increase their earning potential at the end of the day. It doesn't mean we have to be hitting these 10K months or 20K months. You might bring in an extra $2,000 in a month, right? And that could be life-changing for you and your family. So anybody who is looking to increase their earning potential, shoot me a message in the DMs at the ShanaRobinson.co on Instagram is my preferred platform. And but join the giveaway. That's going to be a part of this because you'll be able to learn a lot more about me and how we could work together through that.
Okay, that sounds lovely. And I'm sure that, you know, one lucky winner is going to have a wonderful session with you, because I know I've had my own with you and it was life-changing. It really helped me understand more about myself. And now if someone wasn't really interested at the moment about, you know, making money or making those sales, can they still connect with you and maybe help to find their way through whatever hangover they're dealing with?
Absolutely, absolutely. The first business I ever had was as a life coach, and it often comes into my coaching still. And I think that we started this on community, and we need community when we are going through things. And there's so many women that I'm so privileged to have in my life that reached out to me during that time or held space for me during that time. So I'm more than happy to, you know, be that to someone. You know, shoot me a voice note. Like, I love voice notes. Hey girl, I saw you on the episode with Jenny and this is what, you know, I'm going through. And if I can offer any advice, I will definitely do that. And if not, if I have a recommendation of someone, then I'm more than happy to make that connection.
Thank you so much for that, Shana. And thank you so much for being on the program and sharing your journey of getting back on track and telling us more about Remedy. I know that I've heard the story before, but every time I hear it, it just makes me so grateful and so appreciative of you that you have that strength and courage, that you were able to get through it all and come out on the other side a better, more wholesome version of who Shana is.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Shana. So this has been Coffee with Jenny B on the You Multicultural channel. I'm your host, Jenny Sakovac.